the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up? I can't see you.
Yeah, I don't have us up on the screen yet.
Okay,
I'm about to pull this up. I just got the Be Right Back stuff up right now.
I got you.
You good, buddy?
Yeah, just tired. Mary Sanders in town.
I'm worn out too, dude. So
Been a long week.
it has been a long week. Jeez, so glad. I'm glad to see this one go on and get on gone.
Yeah, it's about like last week with all the tournament stuff too, you know. Where's Randy?
He went on some kind of trip or something.
Who'd you go with?
Well, family.
Okay. I mean, was it a soccer thing? Or?
No, I think it's just some kind of vacation or something.
Okay. When's spring break for y'all?
I'm trying to think. Next week, this coming up week, I mean, everybody's kind of got spring break. Auburn's got it. Alex City's got it. I think Auburn City Schools has it. Kind of everybody's got it going on. So,
What Mountain Brook does it not till the 22nd.
I mean, that's late.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty late.
Yeah, we're going to Dominican.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Never been before.
I have.
Yeah, is it nice?
It is. It's a little bit.
Sure.
Depends on where you're going.
Well, I mean, I'm going to the Haiti part, I can tell you that.
No, of course not. Well, we got about a minute and a half. You back down in the basement again, huh?
Not too loud?
Oh, You back down in the basement, aren't you?
Yeah. Back
Oh,
down.
Here we go. 30 seconds. Alabama Mississippi games are today.
Are you going to the game?
The Alabama Mississippi All-Star games are today.
Oh. What time is that?
12 and then 2.
Is it on
15 seconds.
PBS?
Yeah, I think so. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We're glad that you've joined us here on this Saturday morning, Brett and Luke. And Luke, good to see you this morning, buddy.
Glad to be here.
Just another box to check, right? As we rock right on into another weekend. Again, glad everybody's joining us here on a Saturday morning. Obviously, the main topic of discussion between us today is going to be round number 2 of the Iron Bowl of basketball. And so we'll dive into that. We'll also dive into a little bit of AHSA talk that, obviously we cover the HSA more than anybody. And the Alabama Mississippi All-Star games are today. And we'll kind of go through some of that. And, you look at it from a standpoint of these two games are always a fun display of talent. We'll see Ace Austin in the girls' side. We'll see Dwayne Brown on the boys' side. So you got some really, really good players in these two games for Alabama. On the boys' side of things, they lead 18-16 all time. On the girls' side, they hold a 20-14 edge. So we'll go through the roster and all a little bit here and just a little bit later on. But it's always fun. Obviously, you and I won't be calling the games today. It will be Corey LeBounty and Bart Heisch for us calling the games, and looks to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not exactly the power-packed rosters that we've had in the past in some years, but it's not bad. I mean, Dwayne Brown is a fantastic player. Headed to Tennessee. He's a very Tennessee-like player. Strong, big-bodied. Not a three-point guy, but I mean, he can really take a lot of hits,
Right.
and it's not like he can get to the rim. He's already at the rim. And then Ace Austin's just she is a bit of a phenom, but I wouldn't say in the sense of her athleticism or her stature. It's like she's a Marks woman. She is very fundamentally sound. She's a good athlete, don't get me wrong, but it's not like she is one of these players that just has all of these God-given athletic talents, or incredibly long arms, or can jump out the gym. It's nothing like that. She's just a heady, good player, and she's a lot of fun to watch. Very smart, and I know you got a chance to meet her, and you were impressed. But other than that, I mean, it's really just I don't even know if the kid going to Huntsville is playing at Huntsville that's going to Auburn is even playing in this. Is he, Brett?
I don't think so. I don't think he's in the game. I know Charles Burkett is in the game from Phoenix City. Not Charles Burkett. That's the coach. I mean, I'm looking at the wrong side of things. Salim London was what I meant to say. He's in it. He's in the game. Also from Hoover. He's going to UAB. So you're right. I mean, when you look down through here, it's not like what we've seen in the past with some of the guys that we've been able to call both on the Alabama and the Mississippi side of things. So, but I want to go back to Ace Austin for just a second. I think you did about as good a job of trying to sum up who she is. She's 3-time state tournament MVP. She scored 40 in her last game, and when you look at she won 203 out of 213 games. That's just stupid. I mean, when you go on the floor 213 times and you win 203, you just don't know really what it's like to lose. I mean, it's so rare. So that's a 95.3% winning percentage for her, and so her numbers are crazy. She scored 3,940 points. She had 1,429 assists. Just crazy stuff. But like you said, I mean, she's got a great future at Alabama. I don't know how her game translates to the SEC. I will say this: it translates in the fact that she doesn't know how to lose, and she's going to go over there and work her tail off. And I expect her to be a solid piece for Alabama's basketball team next year.
Oh, I 100% expect her to play a lot. Alabama's come a long way. They've done it rather slowly. It has not been an ascension to the top at rocket speed. But
they've made progress.
Yeah, sometimes those rockets blow up in midair and end up falling in the Caribbean. So I'm really excited to see her play today.
Right.
She is a lot of fun, and she's got sort of this youthful exuberance that will attract people to the game, I think. And while it's always fun to see incredible athletes play, people love to see the gritty, gutty, unassuming type kick butt sometimes too.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, I think that, first of all, she'll be missed at Spring Garden. I had a chance to go up there and talk with her and her dad. And he's a great guy, Ricky Austin, and he and I just kind of shared some stuff at the finals. We kind of talked about it, and you know, I could tell they were trying to take everything in, and I get it. I mean, they've been together a long time. He's coached every one of his kids, you know, both his sons and now his daughter, and he's won over 1,000 career games here in the state. You know, you could just kind of see a culmination maybe to his career as we were standing there looking at the floor, and you know, Ace won't be there next year, and you know, I think it's like he said. He said we're gonna have a great basketball team, but he goes, you know, our little run may be over for a while. And I said, well, I mean, understandable. I mean, not a cut on anybody else, but when you lose somebody like her in a small 1A school like Spring Garden, you know, you expect maybe to take a small step back. Would be an understatement when you lose somebody of her stature. But you know, he's going to get to coach her one more time. I guess it was a kind of a lie. He's going to coach this Alabama squad. So they get one more time together, which is really, really cool. And we'll kind of see how that plays out. The game is at 12 o'clock or at noon, obviously. And then they will have the boys game following that one. So just looking at this roster here for the boys, I mean, we just mentioned Dwayne Brown being part of this team. A couple of players from that Huntsville team, Luke, but not young man that's going to Auburn. You got Braden Rivers. They'll be part of that. And then looking down through here, you got J.D. Gossett. And so you got some guys that aren't going to be – that are undecided right now that are part of that Huntsville team that unfortunately had to meet Hoover in that regional. Look, and I've heard some things, and we're not rambling here this morning. I'm just trying to get the point on this. I think Huntsville and you can't figure out how – like I think all of us wanted to see them in Birmingham, but you don't know who's going to be the best team next. I mean, it could be two teams in the South that are the best, and they have to meet in a regional somewhere. There's no way you don't have RPI net ratings in high school basketball where you can put teams on opposite sides of the bracket and all this kind of stuff. You know, you have to play according to geography, and you know, it just so happened that Huntsville was unbelievable this year, and Hoover finished an unbelievable season, maybe one of the best seasons we've ever seen in high school history.
Maybe the best in basketball.
Right. Absolutely. So, I mean, I hear people, and you and I said it both. We said it's a shame that they're not in Birmingham on this stage playing for a state championship, but you know, that's the draw sometimes in basketball. So we didn't get a chance to see that, but it was a good game in the regional final up there. But you got several guys kind of spread out on this roster. Some places that some of these kids are going: South Alabama, Troy, Murray State. You got Dwayne Brown, who's obviously the largest of the guys at 6'9", literally, and where he's going to school. He's going to go to the University of Tennessee. And then you got UNC Asheville and several guys that are undecided. And then on the girls' side, you got Ace going to Alabama. And then you got some UAH, some Sanford, some Faulkner. You do have the shooting guard from, let me see, from Vestavia, Sarah Gordon, that's going to the University of Pennsylvania. So yeah, like you said, when you look at the college offers sheet, I mean, it's good. I mean, there's a lot of them moving on to play at the next level, Luke, but you don't see like Kentucky and North Carolina and all these different blue blood type names that we're used to seeing sometimes.
You know, and it's usually like that. I mean, it's more often like this than it's not. But we have seen some, you know, the KT Harrells, and we've seen Trevor Lacey, and we've seen DeMarcus Cousins, and now DeMarcus Cousins, I don't even know if he played in Alabama.
I don't think he did. But who was it that went to Kentucky that was so good that
from Parker that beat Eric Bledsoe?
No. This is a Mississippi kid that ended up going. You remember we called that one?
Gosh, he's at the Phoenix Suns, whose name I can't remember right now.
It's not. Yeah, yeah. Who can forget that guy? We walked into the gym, and you and I. It's not that we had not done any research. It was just kind of like, good Lord, man, this kid is unbelievable.
He lit Alabama up.
Yeah, he's been lighting everybody up since he left the gym that day. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and take our first break here on the program. We're just getting started. Get your comments in. Obviously, we can't take phone calls today, and as we're doing it podcast style, but a lot to dive into. Obviously, Auburn and Alabama on the hardwood today, plus all the other games to close out the SEC regular season. So stay tuned. More to come here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Yeah, I just you look down and there's some good players on the team, but it's just not. It should be some good games. I don't have Mississippi's roster in front of me.
Mississippi's got that one guy that's like he's headed to Mississippi State. He's got a hyphen in his name. He's really good.
Right.
See if you see it. I don't know if you have the roster in front of you, but
I don't have Mississippi's roster in front of me. No.
He's good. And he's like the number 100 player in the country. And then I don't really know of anybody else that just sort of jumps off the page at you.
Right. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. I'm going to watch that girls game for sure at 12.
On the girls game, you don't have Mississippi's roster for that either.
I don't have the Mississippi roster. They don't care about us over here. They don't give us anything.
They don't put out the roster like they should.
Well, I think that's kind of why we were so surprised by Booker that year. I mean, it's kind of like we go in there and it's like, oh, they got Michael Jordan on the team. It's like, good God. I mean,
they're not as organized, but Lord, that man was.
Oh man,
I think that was the same year. Wasn't that the same? Was that the same year that they had who's the gigantic kid that went to Purdue?
Oh yeah, good Lord,
son of Joe King.
Yeah, the one you took your picture with.
Yeah, that guy's a freakazoid.
He came up to his hip.
What does he do? I mean, what is he doing now? I mean, when you're that tall,
traveling around with the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, when you're that tall and you're not playing basketball. Good Lord,
world's tallest man.
I mean, you just can't be, doing somebody's accounting.
Yeah, you gotta get in the door to be able to get to work.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got about a minute.
Okay.
What do y'all know about Crowell? He's great. He's a great running back. I watched him and had him up close and personal this year in the finals in Birmingham. So he reclassified, and I mean he's a good running back. He's solid, man.
I saw some. I don't think he's looking at Alabama Auburn, but some top defensive lineman just reclassified. It's getting nuts how many people are reclassifying, and you think about
that's ridiculous. It's like everything.
For a running back, maybe it's one thing, or a wide receiver, but for a defensive lineman, that's a whole nother year of growing and weightlifting that they don't do.
Absolutely. All right, 10 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Brett and Luke here with you till 9 o'clock, and we'll dive into Auburn and Alabama talk here in just a little bit. Was just kind of closing out Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game talk. That is today, both the girls and the boys. So I just wanted to remind everybody that game, the girls' game will start at noon, and then the boys will start at just following that. I think probably somewhere around 2 o'clock would be safe to say. And then, we just talked about it. Headlining the boys will be Dwayne Brown and Salim London, who actually played with each other at Hoover. Team finished 35-0. To me, that's the storyline more than anything. Finishing 35-0. They're on a 45. Here's something that I don't remember any of us talking about this. Going back to last year, they're on a 45 game winning streak. So they've won 3 in a row. I forgot how many it is for the girls. It's so daggum many now. Is it 8 for Hoover's girls now? I mean, it's close.
I thought it was 6, but maybe it is.
It may be 6. I know Hazel Green was going for 8 this year, and they got beat in the semifinals by Park Crossing because Park Crossing was 32. It took a team that had a historic run this year in Park Crossing girls that lost to Biloxi High School in Mississippi's only loss they had to knock off Tim Miller and Hazel Green.
That's insane.
So we've seen some, like, we talk about the boys a lot, obviously, but the girls' basketball storylines in this state over the last 10 years is really just unbelievable. I mean, when you got like that story with Tim Miller and that story with Ricky Austin and Spring Garden and some of the, we're just so used to seeing Lauderdale County and Spring Garden and, some of these teams every single year. And it's like, man, they're 34-1 or 32-2 every single year. The losses
come from out of state.
And they have to go. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, look at Hoover's boys this year, Luke. They went to Alaska and won the dang Alaskan shootout. But when you look at this team on the floor, and I watched them play about a quarter, I had to leave the arena, but I watched them play a quarter of that game against Phoenix City. And Phoenix City, I mean, we all know what type of athletes and what type of teams Phoenix City puts out, but they were so overmatched by that Hoover team. When you looked at Dwayne Brown and the other kid is 6'11". Now, a 6'10" and a 6'11" guy on your team.
And that kid's actually more physical, but not in a necessarily a basketball playing way. I mean, Dwayne Brown knows more how to move his body and get into the right position. This kid's a little bit younger and needs some growth, but he's in terms of his maturation. But boy, he sort of gets in people's faces, and he's more of an intimidator.
And again, I mean, I know they're losing several guys, but I would expect Hoover to be right there again in the mix. But like Salim London, I mean, when you look over and you got him running the point guard position, and I mean, as you and I talked about, I think earlier last week, he would have normally been a guy Auburn and Alabama would have been all over, a Salim London type kid. He's going to UAB, and UAB's got a great program, but man, they just were eaten up with Division I players on that team. They look like a college team, and they are a college team because everybody's going somewhere.
Yeah, it's just tough for anybody in the state to handle them. Same thing with the girls. I mean, that's just they put a concentration on it. They spend a lot of time, effort, and money on it, and it's paid off for them. I mean, these kids did get to go to Alaska, and what an experience for that. I mean, otherwise they'd probably never get to go. So just awesome for them to be able to do that.
Right, no doubt about it. The games will be played in Mobile, just for everybody's information. So just little info there on these games. We're not going to spend much more time on it, but we are the HSA Radio Network, and we will be carrying that game on our stream today. Corey LeBounty and Bart Heisch will be carrying that. Both that work for us and TV. Corey and Bart do a really good job, and very, very passionate, obviously, about basketball, both of them. And nobody puts more work in during the finals week than Corey does. I mean, he comes over and calls about eight games with us on the radio side, and then does PA about the rest of the time over on the other side. So his voice gets an over workout during that week. But those two guys are really good. The call will be outstanding between those two today.
Yeah, and Bart puts lots into it. Bart studies the game a lot. Really, I mean, he's trying to build his brand with the height shoots, and he's doing a good job with that. So I think both of them will certainly do a good job today for sure.
Couple more notes, and then we'll get out of this, and then we'll get ready to talk Auburn and Alabama basketball, SEC football. Alabama is already underway with spring football practice. We'll get an update from you on that, Luke. Auburn's still a couple of weeks away from getting started there. Alabama boys lead the series 18-16. The girls have a 20-14 edge, and they're riding a 7-game winning streak in the series. So going for number 8 today.
I wonder if it would be tougher to play the Alabama All-Star girls or just play Hoover High School.
That's a good question. That'd be a good matchup.
Because
it'd be a good
matchup.
matchup.
The other team has all-stars, yeah, but Hoover's got the chemistry and
right.
Some of their young girls are pretty.
I will say this. Well, I think the best player on the team, and this is nothing against Anaya Blanchard because I was able to talk to her. She's awesome too. The 8th grader for Hoover to me.
Oh yeah, she's good.
I mean, good Lord. I mean, 8th grader on a team that's been this dominant. Really is probably the best player on the team. So, Hoover's not going anywhere. Crystal Johnson's not going anywhere. She just keeps they have to keep building shelves in Hoover High School to put blue maps on because I don't see that train stopping anytime soon. But Hillcrest Tuscaloosa played them tough in the championship.
We say we don't see it stopping. At the same time, what if, the way everything's going with transfers and everything else, what if somebody comes along and what if their coach takes another job and he's like, I'd love for you to come with me? And it's a little different to transfer in high school than it is. And I saw that, I thought it was kind of comical that some school, I sent you guys a link to it, but a school got a $300 fine and some other little piddly stuff about trying to mess with transfers.
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm like,
this is good luck, man.
Good luck. If the school really wants somebody to transfer, $300 ain't stopping anybody from doing anything.
Not at all. Not at all. And so, it's just kind of the world we're all having to adapt. The coaches are having to adapt. Players are having to adapt. Look, I'll address some things in the next segment here. We've had a couple of kids transfer into Benjamin Russell football and excited about having those young men here. And I don't think it'll be the last ones to transfer here because, Kurt Johnson is a winner and he's going to bring kids with him naturally that want to play. And when I say he's not bringing them. They find ways to go follow. This has been going on for years, Luke. So we'll go ahead and take another break. When we come back, I'll talk about a couple of young men that are coming in that have transferred to Benjamin Russell and will be part of this team next year. And we'll take some comments, obviously, a bunch of them pouring in. So stay tuned. More to come right after this. But that's kind of the talk of everywhere. You talk to if you got a kid and they're at a high school and the program is not performing and maybe a coach left or something and the talent pool is just not that great and you're a prospect and you want to go play somewhere where you feel like you're going to get coached up and get taught, parents are finding ways to move out of communities and go to communities that have good programs. It's not just football, Luke. It's basketball, it's baseball, it's softball, it's volleyball. How many state championships has Bayside Academy won in volleyball? Do you want to go? And they've moved up about as high as you can move up in classification based on the competitive balance rule. So, there's things that have been put in place to try to keep things, but a program like that just keeps reloading. It doesn't matter what classification they're in. They're just going to beat you.
Not much you can do to stop it. And I understand it. I get it. I hate it from a casual fan standpoint because
I do too.
I hate it from a societal standpoint because what you do sometimes is you take folks that are in a smaller community that doesn't have the resources to compete on that level. And, they very fortunately get a super running back, super volleyball player, super basketball player, whatever. And the first thing that happens is people reach out to him to come, hey, you come up here. And without thinking at all, they're thinking about the well-being of the student, certainly, but not thinking about the well-being of the community. Like they may be taking some very good people out of a community that needs those good people. They may be taking they are definitely taking an opportunity for that community to capitalize on just very fortunately having a kid of that athletic stature be in their community. And what does it do to
we've been seeing IMG do that for years, Luke.
Yeah.
They take a kid out of a smaller community, and
I'll say this. When it was just IMG,
right.
I don't think yes, the same principle applies, but it wasn't like a crazy, like disruptive force.
Right.
Now it's everywhere, and again, I'm totally behind what, BRHS bringing people in, because that's what everybody's doing. But right. I'm saying
I want to clarify that too, because I, not that you intentionally said bringing people in. I want to make sure people know that Ben Russell or any of these schools, we got about 15 seconds. We'll address it on the TV side too. Yeah. They're not bringing people in. They're again, the whole point of what we're talking about is kids are going to find ways to play together. Now we got about 3 seconds. Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad everybody's joined us here on the program this morning. Kind of shifted over, talked a couple segments about the Alabama Mississippi All-Star basketball games today. Tune those in on WOTM and PBS at noon, and then at 2. The girls will start first, and then the boys moving forward. We're going to get to some of your comments here in just a minute, but we've shifted over, and we're talking about kids transferring and finding coach. We're talking about Crystal Johnson at Hoover, and it just becomes a machine. And if you're living in that area, or maybe you're not even living in that area, and you got a really good player as a child, and she's a good basketball player, would you not want to go look and see what it took maybe to move to Hoover, Alabama, and get your child moved in? Again, you and I, Luke, are not in favor of that. We're talking about from an old traditionalist standpoint. You and I, there's a lot to be said about growing up in a community and representing that community and having those bonds. But, unfortunately, you got your head in the sand if you think that's really what goes on anymore. And number two, with technology and these phones and the way kids communicate with each other, they're not isolated in communities anymore. A lot of them are friends, and they've known each other through social media, through camps that they've attended. So they've built bonds. So they talk and they go, hey, man, why don't you come over here and play with us this year? And so that kind of gets that talk started. So, really everybody wants to point a finger at the school. And a lot of say, well, man, they're bringing these guys in. That their school really has nothing to do with it. It happens to be the location where a coach and certain players are, and other players want to gravitate to that particular program. And we've been seeing it for several years now, not just in Alabama, but how did Grayson become a power in Georgia? How do some of these teams become perennial powers? Hoover's been a powerhouse for 25 years, Luke, in this state. And, it just didn't happen that they just roll unbelievable talent through each and every year. They have guys that move to that community that want to play. We see graphics that are being built now, it's crazy that kids are transferring and they're going from one high school to maybe another high school across town. And just because of a system and a program, and parents have a lot to do with that.
I think parents definitely have a lot to do with it. I think we'd be naive to say the schools are just like, hey, it's just the way the ball bounces. I think, yeah.
They're the benefactor of it for sure.
Well, they're the benefactor of it, and I think that it's, it's sort of like saying, trying to think of an example. It's almost like they want to say, well, this really isn't us, but it kind of is. I'd be willing to bet. I don't even want to say any school's name, but if you just hired a new coach,
right,
and that coach said, hey, I'm going to need some cooperation in terms of, I'm going to be trying to bring some
sure,
with me.
Sure, right.
If the school were to say, this feels a little weird, I bet you that coach wouldn't come here. So would the school either by not saying anything or by fully supporting it, I think they are supporting it. If they are against it, so be it. And I know they can't be against it. Please don't think I'm saying the school is doing something nefarious. I totally admit that this is the way of the world. I feel like Hoover's, we don't know. but Hoover's probably been doing some of this for a while. I mean, we don't know that. I shouldn't even say Hoover. Some schools have been doing this for a while. It feels that way. But I'm not.
We can look at Parker. I mean, look, this is not a shot at Parker, but Parker. I mean, if you look across that team, and I believe Neem offered, was it Huffman? If
Cleveland was it Prattville, right?
Was it Prattville? I mean, look, it is what it is, man. I mean, it's and look, again, are me and you out here waving a banner for everybody to transfer to one or two schools and try to load up a super team? No, but I can't control, Luke, what you want to do with your son. If your son is a star player in a sport and you contact a school and say, hey, I want to move to your school district, or what does it take? What does it take to play at your school? And then you get those rules and you abide by those rules and you transfer your kid. Now, again, people may not like it, but if you're following the rules and doing it the correct way, and that's what we're talking about on here. I'm not talking about doing nefarious things. I also know that kind of stuff goes on too. We're not naive to that, but I'm saying that if you do it the right way, like, parents move to that community or take jobs in that community, and they're willing to do that for their child, there ain't a daggum thing any of us need to do about it or say about it, because it ain't our business. It's a preference that they make.
And, if people want to equate it to, I guess, the older guard, older than I, they'd probably say, well, college football has been that way for a while. The Alabamas and the Ohio States and the teams like the Georgias have accumulated all this talent, and instead of sort of spreading the wealth for some time, and when you do it that way, especially I'd even say Ohio State over the long term more so than Alabama, with Alabama's run with Saban was certainly different, and Georgia's recent run with Kirby different, but I think that, or Notre Dame back in the day. And so people may say, hey, this has been going on forever at college, and it was ultimately going to trickle down. But I think we're beginning to see it trickle down even to, earlier than high school. And the thing about that for me is there's got to be something pure left in the sport. You and I are about to talk about Alabama Auburn basketball, and we'd be a little crazy. I mean, and we can love it. We love what Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl have done, and they have changed the way the sport is viewed in this state from a statewide perspective, from a national perspective. But I think that if we were being honest with ourselves, we'd say we probably know we cut some corners to get there, and we probably know we overlooked some things. People can say the Brandon Miller thing, maybe that wasn't handled right. Bruce Pearl certainly has his skeletons in the closet. And so we're kind of okay with that. Now that it's in high school, some people may say, okay, you're being a bit hypocritical because this has been going on in college for a while, and now it's in high school. And just because you guys were the AHSA radio network, you kind of don't like it. I just think we want something pure left in the sport. There is something fun about my going now to see my 8-year-old daughter play basketball. And she's a great player. And what I've noticed, and experienced, some folks have come up to us saying, hey, we got to get you in this program so, to help her develop.
Already trying to recruit her.
They try to, and again, I'm not mad at it. I appreciate it. I'm flattered.
They're just trying to help. They're just trying to help.
Well, you say they're trying to help. They're trying to help. Yes, they're also trying to help themselves. Let's not pretend like it's all out.
No, they have. Yeah, they definitely have. Absolutely, 100%.
So what I'm saying is, and I mean that's the way the world works, right? Scratch my back, scratch yours, and all that. But it's just,
yeah, because they wouldn't come up to you if your kid wasn't very good, right?
I'll say this from a trying to equate it.
Hey, hold that thought. Let me get the TV break, and then we'll come back. We'll keep this rolling. Going to take a break for TV. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. All right, you can keep going.
Well,
I'll do
it again for TV.
Yeah, save it for TV. Just save it for TV. No, but you're like you bring up a good point, because if your daughter's not very good, then they're not going to come up and strike up a
they're not saying,
conversation with you.
but what if she's the nicest kid in school, and what if she makes what if she makes really good grades, not the best grades, but really good grades, and she's also just a real helpful kid? They're not going to say, you know what, we really want to help little Mary Jane out.
No. Let's look at some of these comments. Justin said, I know y'all are not talking. First, John said, who are the candidates for AU ladies basketball coach? Don't know really right now. John, that kind of happened. I can't
believe that didn't work out.
Yeah, happened kind of out of
good.
Well, I did too, and it didn't, so they move on.
Should have.
Yeah, I know you're not talking college right now, but I was just watching an interview with Bruce, and he brought up a good point about the SEC. The conference may get blasted for being overrated, ... if they don't dominate the Sweet 16 and win the Natty. But what if the SEC just beat the hell out of each other during the conference play and everyone is exhausted? Did Ohio State and Notre Dame benefit from that in football? Some good points there. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, Justin. John said one man's opinion here. Places like BR and others like it are attracting families with high-level players for various reasons, but one, I believe, is because they want to live in a safer community. Of course, the schools programs they are going to are strong. Certainly is a big plus. I definitely think there's something to that too. You want to go to a place where, I mean, let's be honest. Benjamin Russell is building a brand new high school, and historical data shows that you have X number percent increase in enrollment when you build a new high school. It just is. Doesn't matter where it is. We've seen it happen time after time after time. So, would expect some growth here from that. We're going to expect people to look and see the brand new facilities that we're going to have, and they're going to look around and they're going to say, hey, I'd like my child to go to be in that environment. So that's just it. Take BR out. It doesn't matter if it's Gunnersville or Moody and, whoever's building a new school. It just that's the new shiny toy is going to attract people. It's just the way it is.
Sure it is. And again, I don't want people to think I'm putting down BRHS. I mean, everybody's got to play the game, right? I mean, BRHS was behind when they weren't doing it. And so, you got to get it. I'm saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. I hate the game. I mean,
we've all hated the game. We've all hated the game, Luke.
And people can say, well, it's just the way of the world now. And it is. But see, when you're trying, Elliott City had a great little community. Now, here's another way to look at it. You want to look at a more societal thing, business approach. I mean, Elliott City had a wonderful community, and then Russell built up, and things changed.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Sunshine, heat, and air. I will let Luke have the floor as he tosses a pillow to the side and let him continue what he was saying when we went to break.
So what I was going to say was there's something awesome about building it from scratch versus importing awesomeness. Now, both of them can work. You look at Auburn's basketball team, Alabama's basketball team. These are two great teams that have brought in a bunch of dudes from all over the place, from both in recruiting as freshmen and recruiting transfers, right?
Right.
And it is awesome. That is great. And Alabama football has done that. Auburn football, a lot of places have done that. Ohio State's football is certainly doing it now in terms of, getting people in the transfer portal. But there's always something great to me about that 92 Bama team that was loaded with Bama dudes or people really, really, really close to the state of Alabama. Like Tullahoma, Tennessee ain't, California.
Right.
And when your quarterback's from the state and some of your best players are from the state, there's something prideful about that. Now, it doesn't mean I celebrate that championship more than any other championship, and I don't even think it's the best team Alabama's had. But that team is very nostalgic to me. And high school football has always sort of been, hey, every year, you can watch kids grow and get better. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen now, but it's not going to happen at the same rate because somebody's going to be like, hey, we need an offensive lineman. Well, instead of going to say, let's work on little Billy, who's been here, since birth, maybe we go get us one. And yes, you can legally attract an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman or whatever you want to your community. And John Dent keeps saying all these communities are safer. That's true. That is good, right? But there's always a give and take. There's always a yin and yang. So what about the kid who's been there since birth, who's been trying to, wants an opportunity to start for Benjamin Russell or whomever, and he gets supplanted by a kid that they bring in because they're like, you're just not as good as this kid. Now, again, everybody's got to look out for themselves. I'm just saying there is something a little deflating about that. And when you bring somebody in, it isn't just all giggles for everybody. If somebody wins, somebody loses. So on a macro scale and a micro scale. So,
also, you look at communities. I won't name one, but I know there's a community in baseball that they have 3 rosters full of guys that could play and start for other teams. But you can only put 9 on the field, Luke. So, here's the deal. As if you're living in a community and, that coach has got the job, they've got legitimately 30 players they could pick from, right, to be starters. And, you got to pick 9. You got to feel like here's my best 9. And then what are these other guys going to do? Well, they got 2 choices. If they really love the sport of baseball, they can stay there and battle and fight. And I'm all for that because we preach that all the time because we see in college, I don't get the starting job. I take my ball, go somewhere else. Maybe they try it for a couple of years. They can't break through. They want to play the sport. They only have one shot at this thing in high school. So they better figure out where they're going to go. And so they have to take their talent and go play at another school to be able to get on the field. See, there's different scenarios here. And you're right.
100%.
And so, you're right. Somebody wins and somebody loses on this thing. And it's almost unfortunately like the business world where you got an employee and they've been dedicated to this company and they've done a good job and they're a good employee. But this, Joe Blow over here happens to be a better graphic artist than John over here. And John's been with the company for a while. But Joe brings more talent to the table and brings a better opportunity. And so Joe gets the job over him.
Right. I get you. I get all of that.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying
no, I hear you.
Right.
Now, and the one thing I'd say about that is that's where I'm talking about something just pure and sort of innocent yet fun.
Right.
We as fans have now made it where, hey, you win or you get lost. So we also require coaches to come in and win all the time. Not every team can win all the time. And we require that. We want them to do it instead of letting these coaches be pillars in our community that, hey, sometimes you're going to have, a 4-6 record for a couple of years while you build your team up. People like, you have 2 4-6 records, you're out of here. And
exactly.
So fans are culpable, schools are culpable, coaches are, players are, parents are, all this is. And again, you're right. It is it is more real world because it is more like a business, 100%. But then people tell us, well, it's just a game. It's not just a game anymore. It's a huge monster deal. This is a big part of your community, and that's a positive and a negative. I'm not trying to tell you one way's better.
No. But I think to kind of defend what you're saying, Luke, like everything in this world is so transient now. Like, what you're talking about, the purest form is, hey, here's small town USA. You get what you get that comes through your town. Some years you're going to have a good team. Some years you're going to be down. It's ebbs and flows. And the perfect world on that scenario would be nobody's transferring anywhere. This is where you were born, and this is the only place you can play. And, the only way you can change that is if mama gets a job or daddy gets a job in another community and, they go and move over there. And you didn't see that happening a lot. But now with jobs and things that are different and online and, teams and communities are having, if they want to keep a program that's good and competitive, they got to do things to enhance the, what they're doing to bring people in outside of the people that maybe grew up in the community. They got to figure out ways to show people, hey, you can come here and work. You can come here and thrive in this community. And we're putting the money into it because we're building new facilities and we're doing these kind of things. I just toured Oxford's indoor facility a couple of days ago, and I've been there before, but we're looking at possibly something like that in not maybe just like Oxford's, but we're going around looking at different facilities, and that thing's unbelievable. And like if you're living in a community around there and you go tour that and your kid's a baseball player or a soccer player or a football player, or whatever, anybody that gets to take advantage of that indoor facility, Luke, it's like, man, this is unbelievable. It's a college facility. So,
and again, I'm not trying to tell people, I'm just saying that it's not all giggles and it's not all fun and it's not everybody goes this win-win. Now there's going to be a loser. I mean, there's a give and take to everything. And I'm not mad at anybody trying to do this because, again, the fans put the pressures on the coaches to win or get lost. If this new coach coming into BRHS has 2 straight losing seasons, guess what? They won't care who you brought in, and they won't care what it means to the community. This guy might be the most service-oriented guy in the community.
But at the end of the day,
you're not winning.
The end of the day, the coaching and I think every coach that's worth their salt understands that at the end of the day, they're going to be evaluated and by how successful their program is and what it takes to ultimately get a W and not get an L. That's you're right. I mean, it's that simple at the end of the day. All the things that go into it, it really boils down. Can you win or do you lose? And I think most coaches understand that. They'll say that and it'll come from their mouth directly. So, all right, let's take another break here. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
I'll be right back.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, I think, it's not just recently. And, John, you bring up a good point. I mean, the old days of go west, young man, looking for – I mean, people are always going to be looking for opportunities. And if their current setup and situation is not providing what they feel like they need in their life, whether it be professionally or for their children or whatever, they're going to go look for it somewhere else. I think that's why it's so important that it's not just schools, but it's communities. What's your community doing to attract new families or to show growth or whatever? I mean, I think that's all a big culmination of what we're talking about here. We just talk about the sports side of things and the kids that move in and transfer and what parents want to do to get their kid in a program that wins or with a particular coach that has a winning pedigree. But the communities are just they're as important, if not more important, because if you don't have, jobs, if you don't have the things that it takes to bring people in, then your community is not going to attract those people. So that's just, I think to me, it's pretty simple. And I've said this 100 times on here regarding the new school build. If you go over there and look at that new high school and you have something negative to say, then you kind of got your mindset's not going in the right direction. It's not about the brick and mortar. It's about opportunities for your current community members, but other people that might want to come here, that might want to bring their families here and be part of this community. And that goes for any school out there. I mean, look at Moody, Alabama right now and what they're doing. It's the same thing. I don't think you can ever be critical of somebody that's trying to improve and enhance what they're doing. And, we're showing in Allen City that education is important to us and that moving into the next 50 years, we want to have a very competitive school system to anybody's out there. And again, brick and mortar is brick and mortar. It's the people inside that make up your school, but you also want to be able to give the best opportunities for those people to be successful. You want the best technology, you want the best facilities, you want to be able to do all that kind of stuff.
I mean, 100%. I'm not sitting here bleeding.
I mean, I know a 45-pound weight's a 45-pound weight, Luke. If you go into one weight room, a 45 is a 45. But when you walk into one that's got dirt on the floor and the bars are rusted and the seats are torn and all this kind of stuff, we got about 15 seconds versus one that is well kept and, in the image of it and the perception. I mean, yeah, they lift the same, but the eye test tells you it's different. And so that's kind of what it boils down to. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment here in hour number 1 of the Saturday Sports Countdown, kind of wrapping up this talk. Again, it's I think from an era of you and I growing up, the purity of high school sports is what made us love it and what still makes us love it. Now, have things trickled down into high school sports that we're not happy about? Absolutely. Are there rules and regulations out there for high school sports? Yes. Are there ways around that legally? Yes, there are. I mean, it's John said it before you stepped away, Luke, in his comment. He said it was back in the old days of going west. Go west, young man. Go find, more. Go find something. If it's not where you are right now, you pick your tent up in your caravan and you move to go find what you're looking for. I mean, it's been going on for years.
Right. He's absolutely correct. And again, that's why I'm not saying this is just the worst thing that's ever happened. In fact, I can certainly see a bright side to it. But I look at somewhere like now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to use these guys as more of a good example, like Fife. I feel like, I don't know that this is 100% true because I'm not a Fife aficionado, but I feel like Fife is just a community of people that a lot of people stay there. Now, yeah, of course they bring some folks in because they want to. I mean, all communities always have to strive to bring people in or it'll eventually die. So but for the most part, it is the same. It seems like the same group of people all the time. And they keep having success because everybody has a mindset and a culture there. Another way to look at that, you can still have success if you're another school X. I don't want to say any of them because it makes it sound like it's a bad thing. But that is always potentially in the finals or in the Super 7 or in the volleyball, whatever. And they find people every year to bring into the community that aren't necessarily from that community and that would have no tie to that community without the sports. And they're successful too. Both of them can be great. Both of them can be great for the communities. One of them feels more organic and feels more special. It doesn't mean it is. I'm just saying for me, it feels that way. And again, I'm not saying the other way is bad. I'm saying we all have to learn to adapt because he's right. The go west young man stuff and all that's true, but that's more like livelihood. Now, I've always looked at sports as more of a, hey, you learn so many lessons from here. It's good to be on a losing team sometimes. It's good to be I coach Little League soccer, right? The best player on my team, we did some one-on-one drills. And the best player on my team got beaten by, a mid-range player that's never beaten her before. And that the mid-range player was going nuts, like so excited, and the best player started crying. And I went up to her and I said, hey, you're my leader. You're my best player and you're my leader. And I need you to understand that when she beats you, that means one of two things. Either you can learn from it and get better, but it also means that that she's getting better. Right. So we as a team are getting better. And what I'm saying is it's I want her to understand and appreciate the organic growth of it. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and call myself out for being a bit hypocritical, I guess, because what do we do for our soccer team? We went out and found a couple of girls that play soccer for Sanford, and we've gotten them to come help us and teach us because I don't know much about soccer. And I was like, hey, I need – and so some people may say, well, aren't you doing the same thing? I guess I am. I guess I'm part of the problem. It's not like there's a right or wrong, and I'm not even sure it's a problem. I'm just saying – when did it become so important that I have to go out and we as a group of families go out and find girls that are working with Sanford and that are there to play soccer and that we actually give them a little bit of money, just for coming out there, gas money.
Sure.
when did that become so important? Whereas when I was growing up,
when society made it important.
I know. And again, people may say, Luke, what a great thing you're doing, bringing these girls on and paying them money because you're teaching the girls. And other people may go, Luke, you're making it so pressure packed on these 8-year-olds. I get it.
I can see both sides of it. No doubt. Look, I think we got to this point. We'll close out this talk here to end hour number 1. Then we're going to dive in. I think it's all great talk because, I think the people that get upset are people that don't have people move into their community.
That's
and I hate it that way. But I'll use Hoover for an example. Like, we haven't won a state championship in football in a while, so I've heard so many people go, well, man, Hoover must be on the downfall. And they group the whole school into that category. And look, I just went to Hoover. I walked the halls, and I walked with Coach Ware and Coach Johnson, and I walked down the hall, and I saw 800,000 track and field championships. And, I saw all these other championships, and they're here recently. And then the basketball, and I'm like, football kind of carries the banner for everything, and we kind of group everything. If the football team's not having a good couple of years, then we just feel like the whole school's falling off. That is not the case. Like, Hoover's never been any better than it's been. I witnessed it. Yeah, their football team's still good, but guess what? Some other teams got better, and some other teams did some things to figure out how, because Hoover was winning them every year. And so other teams had to figure out, and schools had to figure out if they wanted to do or how they could get to a point where they could beat Hoover. I remember, they rose the bar for everybody else.
Look, Shaker Jack, and we appreciate new commenter Shaker Jack. I don't think I've seen him on this before, but he says
he's on our podcast every morning.
Okay, he says expanding kids' opportunities is not a bad thing. What is wrong with the parent trying to put their kid in the best possible situation? Hoover stole Amari Towns from Southside. 100%. Right. That's what I'm saying. That I get that side. I'm a parent of 4 children. I totally get that.
Yep.
As a nonpartisan fan of just football, it does sadden me a little bit that Southside loses a person that should be in their community helping build them up. So that I'm saying that it's.
No, I see your points. We all, I think, kind of feel that.
I'm not saying these kids or parents are wrong.
Right.
You always want to make it better for the parents and the communities. But see, where Hoover, in this particular case, benefits, Southside loses. Now, what somebody, Shaker Jack, may say, well, Southside needs to get off their tuchus and do better. True. And a rising tide raises all ships, or whatever, lifts all ships. I can't remember what it is.
That was good enough.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But there is something like it's sort of like.
Let's just be honest to sum this up, Luke. We're never going to go back to the day.
No.
That we've had. It's just this is what we have to do with.
And Brett, it's like this. It's like I use this example all the time. That it's like the divorce rate in America is about 52%, right? So 52% of couples end up getting divorced. And some people say, you think about that and that's depressing. And then when you say that, some people are like, well, it's too easy to get divorced. And then somebody else will say, well, if somebody's in a bad relationship, if somebody's a battered victim of abuse, if somebody is a victim of financial fraud, if somebody's blah, 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 all those things are true. But we can also be sad for the fact that, hey, marriage is supposed to be one thing, and we treat it like another. And right. I'm a guy who's been divorced. So I'm telling you, like, I've done it. So I understand you could call me a hypocrite. And at the same time, I'm just saying it can still be a little sad, right?
No, yeah, I totally agree. We got to get to the top of the hour break. Shaker Jack, no, your comment didn't come across rude at all.
No, it wasn't rude at all.
No, I think I exactly hear what you're saying, and we both agree with you on it. All right, let's take a break here. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 coming up right after this. Justin said you could say the toothpaste is out of the proverbial and that's it. That really is the line. Once one school started doing it and started building a program, other schools said, well, I'm not going to sit back and be mediocre. I'm going to compete. And then so they go out and figure out ways to do it. And here's the summation of all this. Some of it's done legally and some of it's done illegally. And the negative connotations and all go with the illegal side of things that people go, okay, we know that didn't happen. Right. And, it is the job of the HSA and whatever governing body to police all that. And, it's also the job of people to turn people in if they feel like something's not going on correctly.
But
And
Brett, I got a good scenario, and I should say
Yeah.
I'll do it again if you like. Let's say you have a coffee shop. You started a coffee shop. You're born and bred in small town X, Alabama. You have a little coffee shop. You always wanted to have a little coffee shop. You get it. Everything's good. It's growing slowly, and people come and hang out and whatever. Then your community gets a little bigger, and it's still growing a little bit. You still got your little shop.
I already know where you're going with this.
Then guess what? Starbucks says, well,
Starbucks.
they got this many people now, and according to our formula, and we also have this major highway that sort of goes close, so we're going to put a Starbucks there.
There it is.
And then, so your little coffee shop probably going the way of the dodo. And now Starbucks is coming there, and which is great because people love Starbucks. I go to Starbucks all the time. But at the same time, can't we be sad for the small business person?
110%. Yes. No.
And again, it's not that it's wrong, it's business. But I'm saying you can feel some empathy.
But that sucks sometimes. Let's just be honest about it.
100% it sucks.
So,
and it is part of life. But I go back to what I was saying, that I loved how Little League was able to provide a lot of these lessons before. Like sometimes and it feels like a lot of these kids.
But I think you said it best. I think you said, with growth and in development and enhancement, you're winning, but there's also somebody somewhere losing.
Yeah,
and that is the truth.
The universe is built on yin and yang. You have, if you win, somebody lost. There's no, people always go, it's win-win. There's never a win-win. Somebody lost.
It's effective.
I believe that. I mean, I know some people don't believe that.
That's competition. I mean, that's it. I mean, in a nutshell. And
I mean, you could say the same thing about somebody who has. What if a company has $50,000? People come to us all the time at Robinson Iron. They're like, we don't have $50,000, but they may say, we know you probably got enough. I mean, a certain amount of money that you give away each year. We'd like to get that money. Well, let's say that two charitable organizations come in and they say, I'd like a shot at it. Well, we might have to choose which one gets it. So one of them may get all of it, and the other one, by definition, loses that money.
That's it.
You can say they never had it, but if the other folks hadn't come in, they would have gotten it.
That's exactly. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 here of the Saturday Sports Countdown, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We appreciate all of you. JR's Sports Bar and Grill rocking and rolling on past 25 years now, approaching 27. Can you believe that, Luke? It's been almost 2 years since they did the 25th anniversary.
And that was a big deal, too.
Massive deal. Had a huge turnout, took a lot of planning, and I just swear, man, the years do. We're sitting here. I mean, I'm not trying to rush, but we've already had plug day here in the Lake Martin area. The lake's coming up. The temperature's warming up. I mean, it'll be full out spring here. I mean, we're rocketing toward April right now. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're moving through the year that fast. And to others, it may feel like it's going backwards, but to me and you, it don't.
No, all right. Let me. John Dent said, "Star sucks." He's not a fan of Starbucks. He says, unless they've changed, they typically don't welcome traditional conservative values. Okay, I agree with that. Now, let's extrapolate what we've been talking about to that business. If you're Starbucks and you do believe in more things that are outside the traditional Christian family values, whether it be more LGBTQ rights or what, and I'm not trying to get anybody started on that. I'm just saying maybe Starbucks is saying, hey, we're moving into a new era on that end too. So, John, your traditional Christian values need to grow. I'm not saying they need to or not. I'm saying that's Starbucks' way of looking at it. But what's funny is Starbucks also went a little far with some things, and now they're pulling back. So it's always a give and take. And it's just, and look, you could sum all this up. We could have saved everybody an hour if we just said it is what it is.
Well, we could have, but it wouldn't have been near as fun.
No, but the whole point is to talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean,
and to talk about it without definitives. Like when people say Shaker Jack again, I did not think this was rude at all. I think you're just talking. And you said you can't ever fault somebody for trying to improve their life. We don't. We're saying that when you take a good student athlete from one system that desperately needs it to another system that doesn't really need it, but it'll help that school win another title and just add to their trophy case. Yes, the school over here benefits greatly, but the school over here loses. And It's not that it's wrong. We get it. I'm just saying.
Yep. I mean, it's all good stuff, man. I didn't intend for us to go down that rabbit hole this morning, but I think that's we've had a great discussion. A lot of you've chimed in, and I think we all kind of feel the same way in some form or fashion. But we also understand the lay of the land, and
I desperately want to get into the Iron Bowl. Brad,
yes, we're about to get into it.
But John Dent says, "Tell them your name is Trump." See their reaction. And again,
you've opened up a can of worms with John, by the way.
Yeah,
Luke,
I'm pro-America.
So, yep.
I'm not going to say who I voted for or anything.
I will. I'll tell you who I voted for.
But I'll say, okay, I voted for Trump. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
But
hey,
let me say this, John.
See my flag.
If you're about traditional family values, John, I would argue I'm not so sure Trump would be your poster boy, and I think that's fair to say. I think that's very fair. As a guy who voted for him, that's very fair to say. So I don't. Again, we're talking indefinitely.
Hey, we're gonna go politics blitz in the next hour, okay? If everybody wants to hang around. So,
and then Justin brought up a great point. He said, "It's sad you have to preference every comment by saying I'm not trying to offend."
I agree with that. Dadgummit, man. Correct.
But trust me, as a guy who has inadvertently offended an entire community one time.
Yeah, Luke should know about offending communities. Unintentionally. Unintentionally.
And it wasn't offensive.
Well, I just sometimes people are already looking for a reason to fire back at somebody, and then you finally get that chance when somebody maybe writes an article or says something on a show like this, and then you attack, and that's just the way it is. So,
well, it's like I'm saying, I think it's very fair to say that I wanted Trump to be president, but I had to bite my lip a little to do it. I had to say, okay, I mean, here are my choices, and here's what I have to do.
Yeah, you had to just make a choice. Yeah, that's right.
But what'll happen from this conversation, somebody might take something from this and go, well, Luke just doesn't like America. He hates Donald Trump. No, I'm just saying that I don't put Trump in the same sentence with traditional Christian values. I put him in different sentences.
I think that's safe to say for 100%. All right. Shaker Jack said Kingston Preer would have been zoned from Monroe County High School. BRHS is much better. Look, and look, he is at tremendous kid, moved here, going to move here and be part of this community. And so is BJ Bedgood, who is already enrolled here at Benjamin Russell. So look, it's all going to be fine. And, they may or may not be the last ones to transfer here. Again, that will be up to the parents and the people that are their guardians and help them make decisions on what they want to do. And not take them out of the mix and go to whatever X high school, wherever. And those parents are going to have to make the same decisions. And we live in a free country. And like I have 2 children. You have 4 children. You make decisions based on what you feel like is best for your family and your kids, and you try to put them in those situations. So that's it in a nutshell, rightfully or wrongfully. Now then all you can do is, hope people try to do it the right way. I know that there's some that feel like every transfer or every move is nefarious and underhanded, and there's always some underlying thing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not the case. Okay. We try to group everything into one big broad pile, and that's not right. Okay. Now, are there some underhanded things that go on? Absolutely. I mean, Auburn and Alabama football have been cutting corners for 50 years, right? And, anybody that says Bear Bryant was doing everything above board or Pat Dye did everything above board because they were your idols, well, your dang head's in the sand, and basically you're you know the truth and you just refuse to say it. So kind of like Jack Nicholson in that movie. You can't handle the truth. A lot of times you say it all the time, Lou. I don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Okay, here we go.
I mean, so that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, and you
That's
don't have to all the time.
Like, see, that's when Justin said you got to always put an asterisk in what you're saying about you don't want to offend somebody. That's sort of where I'm going with some of this. Like why can't we just say? I mean, I for whatever reason I've gotten on a kick of listening to political radio when I drive to and from work, and I drive an hour. And I will flip back and forth to the most left-leaning place I can find and the most right, because it's just dumbfounding to me how two people can see the same thing, and it's just be so crazy,
so unbelievably different.
And half the time I'm like, why can't we just say that? Look, let's get. I mean, I'm on a text chain with some other friends that one of them's super liberal, one of them was liberal, and now he's like, hey, why can't we all just get behind what this Trump president? You're not going to like everything he does. You're not going to like anything any president has ever done ever. But can we just try and get behind him somewhat instead of picking apart every little nuance? And you can't do it. It's the same thing with Alabama and Auburn. You can't do it. It's people, if they are against something, they want you to demonize whatever they're against.
No, I agree. Let's get to our next break here on TV. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. Yeah, Shaker Jack said Red Elephant Club, ever to conquer, are password protected websites for a reason.
The password is give me your money.
Exactly. Let's see. Speaking of the all-name team, did any names stand out? Yeah, there were some. I said it on, and now I don't have them off the top of my head, so I guess
don't either. But there were some.
But there were some really good names in the tournament this year.
And I've got I mean, there were some that, like we had to get a lot of. We need to, what do you call it? A respelling.
Yeah.
But there've been some through the years. I wrote a whole article.
Wasn't there a guy named Smoke in there? I called a Smoke.
There was a Smoke, and there was something else on that team.
They were pretty good.
But now Smoke is actually his nickname, and that he just put that
right. Yeah. But he still goes down as having a great.
I wrote an article for B Metro years ago about some of the great names, and like some of them will have all these names with all these apostrophes and everything, and then the next team will have 7 Stacys, and all the Stacys are spelled different.
Every single one of them. I had one team that had Michaela, Shakayla, Nakayla.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like seriously like something like that. And they were all different last names. I mean, it was wild. And it's like, holy crap, this is crazy. And so another left field question, if you could remove one athletics related person from Auburn or Alabama history, who would it be? I would say Stephen Leith or Eric Ramsey as an AU fan. That's a good start there, Justin.
The easy answer for Alabama is Mike Dubose, clearly, or maybe even
Gene
Mike
Gill,
Shula, or maybe Mike Price. That whole series of Mikes.
What about Gene Gill?
I would instead go Joab Thomas, who was the president who kept Alabama from hiring Bobby Bowden. If Alabama had hired Bobby Bowden,
there's no telling what.
Now, maybe if you hire Bobby Bowden, you don't get Saban, but I don't know. We'll see. No, we won't see. I mean, we'll never know.
That's for another universe.
Yeah.
That happened in Tangent 1985 like it did in Back to the Future.
Yeah, it happened in Earth 612 for those who follow Marvel at all, like Justin does a little bit.
All right, we've got about 30
By the
seconds.
way, I'm about had it with Marvel and all these other universes. Like, that's how we're going to explain everything. That, he just came from another universe. Oh, no big whoop. People just come from other universe. No. Like, if somebody's – that's why I like –
that's the lazy way out of not telling you what their origin is, you know?
Yeah. It's cheating.
Oh, we got 10 seconds. Yeah, I mean, that in itself is a lazy way out. So,
or it's like the Dallas Dream sequence.
welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. I didn't think it would take to the 45-minute left in the program mark to talk about Auburn and Alabama playing basketball today, but it did. So we're here, and we're going to probably dedicate the rest of this to that and anything else that you'd like to talk about. John said Jimmy and Joe's in a strong coach program, a.k.a. Saban and others, with recruiting. I want to go back and address Justin had this question for everybody out there. If you had one guy to get rid of in athletics history at either Auburn or Alabama, who would it be? I'm gonna have to say Stephen Leith with Justin. I mean, he single-handedly about destroyed Auburn and tried to get rid of Bruce Pearl. So I don't have anything to say, but he may have been the biggest buffoon that ever came through Lee County.
Well, he was your president at the time, right?
No.
What was Stephen Leith?
Stephen Leith was, I mean, he was there he was there with.
No, I'm saying he was the president at the time you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right.
Well, see, it's funny because I would go with Joab Thomas, who was president at Alabama, even though, I mean, Justin's question was very.
Well, it's over. Yeah, it's over history. Who do you want
I would
out?
say Joab Thomas because without Joab Thomas, Alabama 100% hires Bobby Bowden.
Why did they not hire? Why did he not want to hire Bobby Bowden? Why did he not want to hire Bobby Bowden?
If you remember, he very famously said in the papers, "We're no longer going to be a football factory." And I took that even at my young age when we hired Bill Curry. I took that as, "Oh, so you're saying we want to stink at football? That makes no sense." So we hired Bill Curry, and if we had hired Bobby Bowden, I mean, you think about, I mean, we could have been the destination versus Florida. Florida State had just kicked off their awesomeness, and it continued for another 15 years.
Right.
And we could have been right in the middle of that at a time in the SEC when there were only 10 teams still for the most part. Now, I mean, in 92, you have Arkansas and South Kakalaki, but they didn't pee a drop for some time. So Joab Thomas, no, and it's not Joab, it's Joab, like one word. That's his name.
Joab.
Yeah.
You should have Joab the something with a name like that. You can't just say Joab Thomas. It should be Joab the Great or Joab.
About to ruin our football program is what it should have been.
Stephen Leith tried to ruin. He leathed everything. Can we hashtag that, Justin? We've been leathed. And then, I mean, he hired Alan Green, and then he said, look, I'll join in on the party of destroying this university. And it got so bad, Luke, that a lot of people felt like Alabama and the Red Elephant Club were pumping money into Stephen Leith and Alan Green to destroy Auburn. I mean,
we weren't as stupid on our part. We should have been.
I wish we'd have thought about it forever, a long time ago, and maybe Auburn had some part into Joab saying that we're not hiring Bobby Bowden.
I said earlier, there's no win-wins. Getting rid of those two for y'all was probably a win-win.
Hey, no question about it.
Because they get a big check, they get everything. I mean,
well, yeah. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of people get big checks from Auburn. I just give big checks to Auburn, paying for tuition.
Yeah.
All right. We got a game today, believe it or not, at 1:30. Auburn and I mean, about to tip off. We ain't said a word about it. All right, going into this game, Luke, Auburn and Alabama both are coming off losses. Alabama's coming off 2. Auburn's coming off a loss, a very subpar performance, if that's what you want to call it. I don't even really know what that was that Auburn did Tuesday. I mean, and look, I get what happened. I mean, the circumstances, and we've talked about this on our podcast all week. You know, you win the SEC outright on Saturday with a chain of events. You beat Kentucky, Alabama loses Tennessee in that crazy ending to that game. They come back and they celebrate. Again, we talk about celebrating the moment a lot of times. Well, Bruce Pearl said, look, it's been a long, grueling season. They need to celebrate. So they celebrate. He gives them Sunday off to kind of recuperate. Well, you only have one day to really practice. before you have to turn around and make a trip to Texas A&M on Tuesday. And that historically has been a bad matchup for Auburn. And Auburn did look, no pun intended, hung over. I mean, literally, I think maybe some of them were, but I mean, looked sluggish, looked dead leg, didn't look into the game. And Texas A&M had lost 4 in a row, and they were in desperate need of a win to try to right the ship. So when you combine all those things, it's a recipe for a loss, and that's what Auburn did. And so now they flipped the page, and you got 2 teams with Alabama and Auburn that are rivals, and it's the second round of this. And there's a lot on the line for both teams. Even though Auburn's got the SEC regular season wrapped up, Alabama's trying to stop the bleeding a little bit, and Auburn's trying to not go on a losing streak for the first time all year heading into postseason.
Well, it's funny. Both coaches have sort of de-emphasized the game today.
They both have.
Bruce Pearl's like, well, if we lose, it's not that. I can't remember what he said, and then Nate Oates had something sort of like that. But
he's talking about Nate Oates said something about, well, all we got on the line is like a 3-4 seed. So I mean, it's like,
and what that tells me again, it comes back to what I said before, that we have de-emphasized the regular season. People tell me all the time the college basketball regular season matters. No, it really doesn't. I'm not de-emphasizing it because Auburn won the title. Alabama's won a title recently. I'm de-emphasizing it because you were defined by March. That's it. You can hang the banner and all that's awesome and it's cool. Nobody cares. How far do you go in March? And I can't stand it, but it's true. I don't like it. I wish the regular season mattered, just like I wish the regular season and SEC mattered. Georgia won the SEC last year. Nobody cares. Nobody. You know why they don't care? Because they lost to Notre Dame in the first round of the playoffs.
That's it. I mean, look, I talked about it on our podcast about Auburn's. Auburn's been to the NCAA tournament 5 times since 2018, Luke, and only 1 time have they made it out of the first weekend. Okay, you can say what you want to, and they've had some great seasons, and they've racked up a bunch of wins, and they've hung a bunch of banners, whether it be regular season or tournament championships in that time frame. But when you look at the run, they make it to the NCAA tournament, but outside of one trip to the Final Four and that run that they had that year, which was great, they hadn't been out of the first weekend. And if you'll remember, Auburn had to hit New Mexico State had a shot in the first round that year. If it goes in, Auburn's out in the first round.
Yep.
And so, I mean, you're looking at, man, if that doesn't happen, man, you are looking at some disappointing exits.
Well, think about this. If you were Auburn, and I'm not going to use Alabama as an example, because Alabama's season was pretty good last year, even though they didn't win the regular season or the SEC.
Well, Alabama got blown out in the tournament, then they come back and go to the Final Four, and that's all anybody remembers.
That's right.
That's all anybody remembers.
Heck, I'm the biggest Alabama fan and I forgot they lost to Florida. I didn't care.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't matter.
But would you rather have had Auburn's season last year where you win the SEC tournament, or would you rather have had NC State's? Now, they won their tournament to get in. But let's pretend like they just got in by the edge of their seat and they went to the Final Four.
Well,
Would you rather have that?
To know, obviously, that's the ultimate goal every year is to make it to the Final Four.
And again, it's a shame. And of course, you want to win it if you're playing it. And of course, Auburn should hang a banner. Of course, they should. But I'm saying it just doesn't.
Well, in the scheme of things, it only means something to the fans at that moment. So, all right, let's take a break. Come back. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. Carl Ravitch called his 50th game for Alabama. It is the truth. God almighty, man.
Hey, we don't like him any more than y'all do.
Mr. 500 conference record.
He ain't good at math.
No, that whole situation ended up being didn't start my clock on the break, so gonna be a little bit behind on that one. You look at when you say something bad and you in the back of your mind you screwed it up, but you're going to figure out a way to talk your way out of it. He kept trying to figure out a way to get out of that, what he said. So, well, no, really what I was saying, like, no, you're an idiot. Just admit it. You screwed up. You just say, yeah, that's right. I was thinking about that wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. That would have been a lot better than to continue to try to make amends for it, which you knew you were not going to be able to do. So,
He dug himself a hole.
Right. Yeah, Russ, just give me 30 seconds when you let me know when it's 30 seconds, and then I'll count it down from there. I know this year the SEC is strong in basketball, but how many natties does SEC basketball have versus football? Well, I mean, that's not even comparable. I mean,
well, I'll say this. I'm looking at Florida's got 2, and then Kentucky's got 8. And then I don't know if anybody else in basketball. I mean, Oklahoma may have one from way back when. I'm trying to look and see. I don't know that anybody else in the conference. Oh, Arkansas's got one.
Arkansas's got one.
Let's see if I can find. Okay, Southeastern Conference has 11, so it must be Arkansas, Florida with 2, and then Kentucky with 8. We about have 11 in the SEC over the last 15 years in football. So it's not close.
No, it's not even close. But I'm going to tell you, until recently, and Greg Sankey, maybe previous to him, and Mike Slive really placed an emphasis on basketball in this conference. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, Kentucky can handle this for everybody. We'll just stick with football. But now, I mean, I think it was Greg Sankey that called everybody in and said, look, y'all be good in basketball too, and you need to start putting funds and
why not?
And effort toward. And we've proven that we can be. I mean,
we got the money.
Who's the most talented HSA players y'all have ever seen? Man, there's a bunch of them. Shaker Jack. I mean, golly, I'll make a list one day instead
I think
of trying
Marquez Webb is Marcus Webb's daughter. I think that's
right.
She had one of the more dominating performances. I remember. I think she had 28 points and 22 rebounds in a state championship game, something like that.
All right, we got 30 seconds. I think I'm even a little bit behind on that, so I'm going to try to come back in here in about 15. Shakayla Thomas, very good.
Shakayla Thomas was a dudette.
I was going to say not literally, but all right. Welcome back, everyone.
Be careful.
I was going to say you can't even say that anymore.
Yeah.
Again, welcome to the new world, right? The new world order. But welcome back to the show. That would be a great show. Well, me and Luke will try to do that because we've been doing basketball in Birmingham for dang near 20 years now, which is crazy. And we'll go down a list. I mean, I know that you and I called that Eric Bledsoe DeMarcus Cousins game, and that was, the environment of that was just remarkable.
It's still unmatched. That environment's unmatched.
It was the best ever. And, it was early in us doing that, and you and I were like, dang, is it going to be like this every time? Like, this is unbelievable, of course. And we have – no, it's not. But
when DeMarcus Cousins, he scored the first basket of the game, didn't score again.
Sat on the ground, sat on the floor.
Sat on the ground, and everybody was looking at him, and somebody was like, we're going to have to get come along to get him out of here. I don't know how to get him out otherwise. I don't know how we make – he fouled out.
Yeah.
Got a tech.
Yeah, he had a terrible game. DeMarc, not a cud, but it is what it is now. He had a terrible attitude, and Parker had that place rocking, and Eric Bledsoe, and ironically, they ended up being teammates at Kentucky. But just a great atmosphere, and things weren't going LaFleur's way in that game, and he showed that angst at Kentucky a lot of times. Man, if things didn't go right, he was He got pissed off pretty easy, for lack of a better term.
Let me tell you, you don't want him pissed off.
No. And so people start flying when he gets mad. And so Justice said, is Caleb Holt going to be that guy similar to Eric DeMarcus? Caleb Holt, yeah. I mean, okay, hey, speaking of all that we talked about in the first hour, that is the perfect example of what we're talking about. And here he is playing for a school in North Alabama that won 2 state championships. And let's be honest, he was the reason why they won it. They had some good players around him. But Buckhorn, has anybody heard about Buckhorn this year? Was Buckhorn in the finals this year, Luke? If Caleb Holt had been there, you think Buckhorn would have been back in the finals? Yeah, I do. I mean, and so he goes to Grayson in Georgia, and I actually brought Grayson up earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said, what about how did Grayson become a powerhouse? Well, I mean, they got good, and they got people in there that wanted to be good, and really football kind of stirred all that. And now basketball is like, well, if football can bring all these guys in, we can go pluck whoever we want from wherever. And so Caleb Holt finds his way from Buckhorn, Alabama, over to Grayson, Georgia.
Yep.
So it's just the way it is, man. And like, I miss having Caleb Holt here. I don't know if you got any updates on Caleb Holt recruiting, and I mean, he can go anywhere he wants to go. I mean, I know he's got an offer from everybody, but
yeah, I mean, I know Alabama and Auburn are certainly there. Now, Alabama has 0 people that have been ranked for 2026, the state of Alabama.
right.
And Caleb Holt is the number 1 prospect clearly in Georgia for
right.
next year. And, he's number 4 player in the country. And then he's just a dude, man. He's pretty incredible. He's really awesome. Now, my bet is he ends up at Alabama or Auburn, but I mean, he could go anywhere he wants to. I mean,
I know there for a while, and this was when Calipari was there, that he was a Kentucky guy, and a lot of people felt like he may have been. Now that Calipari's at Arkansas and Pope's there, and Kentucky, let's be honest, Luke's lost a little bit of its luster. I mean,
yeah,
and all of these blue bloods, you take Cooper Flagg off Duke. Duke's nowhere near the team. I think Auburn and Alabama are top to bottom. But North Carolina has struggled this year. And I know they're on kind of a winning streak, but they pretty much have been a non-factor. Kansas is not very good. All these blue bloods that just dominated basketball ain't dominating no more, man. And it's because of this new era. I mean, Auburn and Alabama over the last 5 to 7 years have had just as good of programs as those teams. Now, I know Kansas won national championship and blah, blah. I know some of them have gotten over the hump. But if you look at it record-wise and longevity-wise, you've seen the blue bloods come down and the others of us move up. And it's made basketball way more competitive.
And again, some people will love that. I do love it in the sense that I'm an Alabama fan, and so we're in it. But if I were just a casual college basketball fan, I wouldn't be super excited about it because, I've always said this. Hey, when I go to a Final Four, and I always said it from a viewpoint that, like, Alabama and Auburn ain't never going to get there. But we have. But I was like, hey, my dream Final Four, if Alabama's not involved, be somebody like a Kentucky, like a Michigan State, like a UConn, and like a UCLA. I'm just throwing out some names. I would much rather see, or Indiana or Duke or whatever. I'd much rather see that than a Final Four with George Mason in it. That's me. I don't care about that.
Hey, I know we'll talk about the game a little bit more. And I know we got to get to break here in just a couple minutes.
I don't think we are going to talk about it.
We're trying not to. We're doing our damnedest not to talk about it. All right. Well, Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates diminished it. Why are we going to talk about it? So
they act like it's a scrimmage. I swear to God, both of them made it seem like a scrimmage because it doesn't. In fact, it really doesn't matter. If Auburn loses, it's not changing.
Well, Jason Caldwell was on the show with me yesterday, and he said kind of the same thing. He went, in the scheme of things, it doesn't really affect anything.
If Alabama wins, they're not going higher than a 2 seed. If Alabama loses, they're probably still going to be a 2 seed because their schedule was so tough.
All right, so I want to fast forward, and we got 1 minute here, and I want we'll carry this over into the next segment, which then means we'll only have one more segment, which means that we won't talk about it. But anyway.
Well, Justin said, I'm very sorry, Lindsey, meaning Lindsey Buckingham from the What's Up With That episode of
Saturday I didn't know what that was.
I know what he meant.
Yeah, you knew what he was meaning.
Lindsey, you're going to come back on the show, aren't you? Lindsey, you're not mad at me, are you?
We'll get to you next time. The Auburn-Alabama possibility of being in the Final Four this year. Now, that is legit. So let's go ahead and take a break here on the program. We come back. We'll talk about that, maybe something else that'll make us not talk about the Auburn-Alabama game today. So stay tuned. More to come right after this.
Lindsey, don't be mad at me, Lindsey.
I got to watch that. I do have to watch it. What, is that a recent skit of
No, I
SNL.
mean, he was no, he hadn't done it in years, but it was a recurring skit forever. And it's just like Kenan Thompson is this sort of
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
this sort of reverend character.
I was going to ask, was it
He
Kenan
sings
Thompson?
everything for some
Yes,
nonsensical reason.
yes. You know, I forgot. I guess going back, when was maybe the early 2000s? I quit watching SNL. Like early, like when I say like around 2004, 2005, it changed and it was not near as good
It wasn't
as
funny for a while.
it wasn't funny. And so I just quit. I used to not miss an episode. It was Saturday night. It was like, that's what you got. You got to watch it. And so it changed a lot. Russ, you're going to have to help me on this.
Well, they had gotten so left that it was hard to watch some of it. And
yep.
Now it's
best Keenan skit ever. I got to go pull that up.
They started doing what Saturday Night Live should do, is like poke fun at both sides, because there's plenty to poke fun at, and
right,
it has been a lot funnier since then. And Kenan Thompson's great in that. I don't know. Yeah, Shane Gillis was great this weekend, where it was not Tim Keenan. Kenan Thompson's best skit ever.
Tim Keenan.
I think that skit where he's in jail trying to scare people straight with different, like he had Betty White.
No, that's hilarious. Did you see the 50th anniversary? Did you hear the 50th? Did you see the 50th anniversary?
Oh yeah. They're like, that's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. He's like, boy, let me. And he always rips somebody's shoe off and throws it.
But that skit with Eddie Murphy and all them in there, that was hilarious.
It's great.
Oh God, it was hilarious, man.
Shane Gillis has been good, and like his little thing where they did a couple of beers, as a medicine, is pretty funny.
Right. We'll see how it all plays out, John. I don't. It's about a draw and matchups. That's what I fully believe that.
Who was our dominant big man last year? We got to the Final Four last year. No dominant big man that I can think of.
Who did y'all have inside?
God, I bet. I mean, it changes so much. I don't even remember.
Isn't that crazy? Like, it's hard to remember one year to the next who you had on the team. I mean, that is stupid. And I'd remember like the entire roster. All right, we got 30 seconds of the 1986 Auburn football team. Yeah. Like, it's like, and I can't remember.
It's always about matchups. Right. It's always about good luck. I mean, sometimes,
right.
It's just there's no formula to get to the Final Four every year. If there was, the teams like Kentucky would have figured it out a long time ago.
Right. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. If you're getting ready to watch the game here at 1:30, don't tune into this show. We're not going to tell you anything about it. No, but if you're getting ready to watch
surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. At 1:30, go check out JR Sports Bar and Grill. Order your food from there, or go up there and hang out and watch the game there. They got all the TVs and everything for you to watch. Again, been a long time supporter and partner here on the program with us, and then Sunshine Heating and Air for all your heating and cooling needs in the state of Alabama. Did you see that that graphic that Josh Johnson put out the other day about the weather in Alabama since January?
No,
Luke, you didn't see that?
No.
I've got to pull this up and read it. And again, I'm not trying to distract and get away from talking about this game for whatever reason, but I've got to pull this up for you to. It's unbelievable. It's been like 63. I mean, something stupid like 63 tornadoes. It's snowed on the coast. It snowed in North Alabama. We've had an earthquake. We've had some kind of jump go on. I mean, it's the wildest dang weather. Here it is. Alabama since Christmas. 43 tornadoes, a snowstorm in the north, a snowstorm in the south and at the beach, 2 windstorms that produced 100,000 power outages, wildfires, and a 2.6 magnitude earthquake.
But other than that,
Yeah, so going back to how I got off on that, for your heating and air needs, call on Sunshine Heating and Air. I mean,
that's like for heating and air needs, open a window.
I mean,
all you want.
it's. It's the reason I say that is because you may need the air on one minute and the damn heat on the next because you just don't know what's coming. So if you don't like the weather in Alabama, just wait. What do they normally say? 24 hours, it'll be different. So it is crazy. And Alex City didn't get one single flake of snow. All right. Auburn and Alabama today, Luke. We're gonna talk about it. We got 20 minutes left. Again, not to diminish. Look, it's still Auburn and Alabama. Auburn is a 7.5 point favorite in this game. I'll say this: looking at Alabama since the loss to Auburn the first time, Mark Sears woke up, and the dude's been on a tear, and he's been tearing it up, and he's been scoring like we saw him score last year. So it should be a little concerning for Auburn. I don't know how healthy Denver Jones is. I'm hoping that he's back today. He kind of messed his ankle up in the Kentucky game and sat out the game against Texas A&M, which obviously hurt Auburn defensively. But I think that's a key matchup to watch today in this game is Mark Sears and Denver Jones.
The other things that's happened since then is it's Ramadan for Mo Diabate, so he's not eating. He's fasting.
Yeah, right. He's fasting. Yeah.
And he had again, it may be coincidental. Maybe it is, but he had his worst game of the year against Florida, 100%.
Well, when you have no nutrients in your body, I think that's going to contribute.
And I love Mo Diabate. They should rename the Hard Hat Award the Mo Diabate Hard Hat Award because all he does is give his all every time. And then you have Grant Nelson. There's no doubt in my mind he's hurt. He's not injured. He's hurt. He's got something going on with a leg. I believe this and have a little bit of information. And he's trying to play through it, but he's not the same guy. And he needs a lot of rest.
And Auburn's got a boatload of those guys. I mean, Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones, Janai Broome, they're all beat up. I mean, this has been a brutal season.
It's been a long stretch. And
right.
Then Alabama finishes up with 7 straight ranked teams, and that's just tough. I mean, it's luck of the draw. I mean, you can't do anything about it. And I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, but that's why I think also Alabama's probably going to remain a 2 seed regardless, because when you go out and you try and play the tough schedule, and then you play in the SEC and you get the rough end of the stick in the SEC draw, you ought to get credit for that.
You look at Duke's schedule, and
yeah.
Duke has more wins against ranked teams only than 2 other teams in SEC, and that's LSU and South Carolina. Everybody else in the league has more ranked wins than Duke does, and the only 2 SEC teams that have less than them are South Carolina and LSU. The schedules aren't even near the same. The gauntlet that Duke's gone through ain't even close to what Auburn and Alabama and Florida and Tennessee have gone through.
But and we should point this out. This seems like I appreciate college basketball universe in this sense. Like it used to be when I was growing up, that the ACC always got 9, 10, 11 teams in, and SEC got 3 or 4. And this year it's going to be the other way around. And so that tells me, okay, we're looking at what's actually happening versus brand awareness. And, I'm glad for that, at least, because I think the SEC deserves a lot more teams than the ACC. The ACC just doesn't have much. I don't know I know North Carolina got a big win over.
Well, they've won 6. They've won 6 in a row now going into this Duke game.
And will they get in? I don't know. I mean, Duke will get in, Wake Forest will get in, and then there's
Clemson
will get in, and maybe North Kakalaki. But other than that, nobody's getting in.
It's just going to be a stretch for them to get in, I think.
And just when I was ready to count out Georgia, they do some things. Just when I was ready to count out,
hey, can you confirm that Duke? Can you confirm Duke's not playing in the ACC tournament? Is that right?
No. Why wouldn't
I mean, I thought they were going to give a bye to the number 1 team to try to get another team. I thought they were going to make a situation. I didn't, and we ain't got enough time to really dive into this.
Listen, I'll tell you something. If they did that, I think every other conference would scream bloody murder.
I'm with you. I mean, but if it's not a rule.
Hey, if that's the case, here's what I'd do. I'd say, if I were the SEC commissioner, I'd say no problem. So here's what we're going to do: Alabama, Auburn,
Florida, and
Tennessee, Florida. I'd pick about 7 schools that I know are downtown, not screwing around, locks. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and say, y'all just sit this one out. This will be an SEC tournament. It's going to feature South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas,
and LSU,
and maybe
LSU. Yeah, and
that's it.
And we're gonna get another team in.
Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Well, I'm telling you, I think I never could confirm that. So, but I mean, if you want a loophole, I mean, if you told Bruce Pearl, "Hey, y'all want to sit this one out," he'd go, "Heck yeah, man! I don't go to Nashville. We'll sit for a week and let him battle it out." And in kind of defense of your points all the time, I think that's a perfect scenario. The number 1 seed is earned over the course of a year. If they win it outright, the opportunity to not have to go play in another tournament. I mean,
why don't we do this, Brett? And this isn't crazy. This can be done. Why doesn't the college basketball committee say this? Look, we can't say, I mean, the scenario I just gave you with Mississippi State, Ole Miss, like being locked, but you could say, all right, if we have our top 16 seeds, right? Those top 16 seeds don't have to play in their conference tournaments. Now, it might be a logistical nightmare. It might be, the TV stations may not love it because, you're going to lose some blue bloods in there sometimes. But I think it could work to the TV advantage because you're going to have a lot more drama. Because if you're LSU and you have to trope up to Nashville just to get your butt kicked.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the gauntlet you face.
Exactly.
But what if you're LSU and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we don't have to play Alabama, Auburn, or Kentucky, or Tennessee, or Florida?
Now we got a chance. Yeah. Let's take this final break, and we'll come back and finish up. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. No, I mean, look, I know from a revenue standpoint, that wouldn't be conducive for the SEC or anybody, but a reward for some of the teams. Hey, and look, I'm telling you, that's what they're looking at. If the discussion is, okay, now we can take Duke, set them aside so they can't win the tournament. We'll definitely get, for sure, one more team in the tournament by doing this because the tournament champion is rewarded a spot in the NCAA tournament.
So what I would do if I were this, I mean, I think the NCAA could make it a lot more interesting. Again, Auburn won the SEC tournament last year.
Right.
Who
didn't help.
Rip.
But it didn't help them either.
Didn't help them. It hurt them. It hurt them.
It did.
And that's what I'm saying. If you're not going to get anything out of it other than a banner, nobody cares about that anymore. That used to be important. It's not important anymore. Brett, who won the NFC West this year? Does anybody give a damn?
Nobody cares.
You care about
nobody cares.
You go in the playoffs.
That's right.
That's it.
And if you fall on your face, that's what everybody remembers. If you didn't meet or exceed expectations, people look at it as a disappointing year.
And it's unfair, and I hate it, and I wish it meant something. I'm not trying to denigrate it myself. I'm saying it has been diminished, period.
Right.
Don't forget what I said. The stats show it. I mean, when people show that picture of Auburn last year in Nashville, like celebrating the SEC tournament, they always say, this is the squad that lost to Yale too, boys.
Yeah.
And it's unfair, and it's not right, but it's what it is.
You're in the world that we live in, especially in sports, is what have you done for me lately?
Guess what?
And you're remembered for what the last thing that you did.
And Brandon Miller's squad was number 1 overall seed in the whole tournament. They lose in the Sweet 16 to a team.
Guess what, Luke? Until you just brought that,
people say they disappointed.
Yeah, well, guess what? Until you brought that up, I'd forgotten they were the number 1 overall
100%.
seed. It's crazy.
So if all that doesn't matter, then why doesn't the NCAA? I mean, they every week now they do like the college football playoff thing. They put up their top 16 seeds.
Right.
Say these at the end of the regular season, say these top 16 are in. so they don't have to play in their conference tournament if they don't want to. If they want to, go for it, but they don't want to. They probably won't want to. So what you do is you put them out, and then all of a sudden you got a conference tournament with people that are trying to fight to get in. Now, I hate that in a sense that I don't want – LSU has been awful enough this year that they've proven to me they don't need to play for a title. But now that we've sold our souls for money, I'm all for it. Let's just go for it.
Let's just do it, no doubt. All right, we got about 20 seconds.
We have made it where the regular season just doesn't mean a damn thing. And
I
we all tried to say this. And now that it's not, I'm embracing it, but I can still say I don't like it.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you don't have to like the new lay of the land for sure. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown final segment here on this Saturday morning, getting you started here on your Saturday morning. Looks like it'll be pretty good weather around here, and get out and about. Obviously, we talked about at the beginning of the show the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star games that'll be on at noon and 2, the girls and the boys. So with our AHSA network, Corey LeBounty and Bart Heiss will be calling those games, so you'll have to tune us in on our network. We'll be streaming those games from Mobile. Auburn, Alabama on the hardwood today. We'll kind of end with this and look at, Alabama trying to stop the bleeding. I think both teams want to have a little momentum going into the postseason. Both teams are banged up. Alabama would love to come into Auburn and get a win and kind of do the split thing, and Auburn's trying to prevent themselves from going on a losing streak. They haven't been on a losing streak this year. I mean, they've lost to Duke, they've lost to Florida, and they've lost to Texas A&M, but they've been able to rebound the previous 2 times and get things back on track. You got Alabama coming in, who is one of the best offensive teams still in the country. They only hit 5 threes in the first matchup. I don't think that's going to happen today. I think they'll hit their fair share of threes. Auburn's going to have to continue to defend the way they defended up there in Tuscaloosa and try to keep Alabama as far off the 3-point line as they possibly can. So it'll be interesting to see. Neville Arena is a rabid place to play, but Alabama's proven they can come in there and they can win. So again, in the big scheme of things, maybe not a lot on the line, but there is still the pride element, and it's the rivalry part of the game that everybody will be tuned in for.
And it is very odd that both coaches have made it seem like this game's not a big deal.
Right.
And not in a way that's sarcastic or, trying to be, antagonistic.
Well, I said it on Gary Harris's show yesterday, Luke. I said that both of these teams have bigger fish to fry. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, okay, if Alabama wins this game and they go out in the first round of the NCAA tournament, nobody's going to give a rip that they went to Neville Arena and won the game. And if Auburn sweeps Alabama and they go to the NCAA tournament and they go out in the first weekend again, like they've done several times in the last 6 or 7 years, people are going to be like, well, crap. I mean, we do all this during the regular season. We get to March and we can't pee a drop. I mean, that's what people are going to remember.
And Brett, you and I said this a long time ago. What if, at this point, what if Alabama loses to Auburn today? They've already lost them in Tuscaloosa. They lose to them in Nashville, and then they play in the Final Four and Alabama wins the national championship. I'll take that all day. I'll lose 3 times to Auburn.
No, you'll sign up. You'll sign up right now for that, and so would I.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a daggum no-brainer all the way around. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. Again, everybody's going to be watching it. Everybody's going to be tuned in. Now, it was 1 versus 2 in Tuscaloosa. It's not that – I thought it could still be 1 and 2, but Alabama's had a tough stretch. Auburn's had a tough stretch. We knew both teams weren't going to run the table and finish up, without not another loss before they faced each other again. But again, it's still a big game. 2 really good teams. I'm looking forward to the game. It's at 1:30. Let's go around the league real quick. Last couple minutes here, Luke. You got Kentucky at Missouri. That's kind of an important game because Missouri's kind of tailed off a little bit here recently, and Kentucky going to Missouri, that would be a big resume builder for them. Mississippi State goes to Arkansas, Vanderbilt at Georgia, South Carolina at Tennessee, nobody cares. Texas A&M at LSU, nobody cares. Ole Miss at Florida, okay, and Oklahoma, Texas in their rival game there, which is two really bad teams, which in essence, outside of just those two fan bases, nobody cares. So, yeah, I mean, Auburn, Alabama, and Kentucky, Missouri really are the two games today.
Yeah, that's about it. But, and then we figure out where everybody's going to be in the SEC tournament and go from there.
That's exactly right. Well, we're here at the end of the show. Again, we want to thank everybody for watching and listening. Again, just your prediction, Luke, on the game today. You think Alabama can come in and get it done?
No, I just think they're too beat up. I mean, Darion Reed hasn't even been a part of the process here in a while. I'm going to say Auburn wins. I'm going to say Auburn probably wins by 10 or something.
And then 7.5 point favorite. Yeah, I kind of feel like Auburn will get it done. It's senior day, 10 seniors. It'll be a good exit for them. And then it'll be in postseason, and you got to kind of get refocused and see how everything plays out. Auburn clinching that regular season championship last Saturday kind of took a little bit
Auburn
of drama
seniors are literal seniors. Like Chad Baker-Mazara gets discounts at coffee. and
no doubt. All right, it's going to wrap it up for TV. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back with you next week for more of the Saturday Sports Countdown.
All right, buddy. I got to run upstairs.
Yep. Sounds good, brother. Appreciate it. All right. All right, guys, everybody online, appreciate you watching. We got to get out of here, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.